The gavel came down like a crack of thunder. The room went quiet. Cody stood frozen in place, his fists trembling, eyes burning red. But they weren't tears. It was anger. Robin flinched across the room, her whole body trembling as the judge's words lingered in the air. You brought this upon yourself. And in that instant Cody snapped. I lost everything because of you, he thundered. Everyone in the courtroom gasped, but that was not the bombshell. No, what was about to occur would annihilate 10 years of lies, betrayal, and remnants of everything they had built together. Because Robin had a secret. One that would not only devastate Cody's life but bury the entire Brown legacy. What secret can be so deep, so dark, that it would bring down an empire? Stick with me, because by the end of this, everything you think you know about love, loyalty, and trust will be turned on its head. So, let me ask you in the comments, was Cody's rage justified? Or did he build his own destruction one decision at a time? The courtroom lights lowered, casting long shadows on faces that were filled with shock. Cody Brown, once the proud head of a large polygamous family, was now alone. No wives stood with him. No children advocated for him. Only the echo of his own footsteps and the ruinous fallout of his choices. Christine was quietly in the third row, Janelle behind her. Mary did not blink, her gaze steady on the man who had once referred to her as his everything. None of them were there for him. They were there for judgment. And Robin? She couldn't even lift her eyes. Her fists clutched her chair as if it would vanish beneath her. Mascara streaked her cheeks like battle scars. The clerk called the room to order. Cody coughed. Your Honor, he began, voice shaking. I didn't ask for this trial. I didn't want it. But here I am because my own family has decided I'm the villain. The judge's eyes were cold. Brown, you're not here because of accusations. You're here because of evidence. And when evidence speaks, emotions shut up. But Cody wasn't done. I gave everything for these women. My career, my name, my money. And now they act like I'm some kind of criminal. Christine let out a sharp laugh that cut through the room. The judge arched an eyebrow. We'll get to the financial record shortly. And that's when it happened. Christina's lawyer rose to her feet. Let's talk about the $2.4 million debt Robin left behind, she started, the one she invested in the family trust, without anyone's permission. Cody's head whipped in Robin's direction. What? He snarled. A murmur ran through the courtroom. The judge slammed down the gavel. Order. Robin was immobile with paralysis. Couldn't speak. Her eyes stayed glued to the floor. She looked as guilty as a teenager caught sneaking in past curfew at midnight. But this wasn't curfew. This was betrayal, plain and simple. Because when your partner withholds the truth, it's not just deception. It's an ambush. Mary tilted, eyes narrowing. Christina's lawyer stepped to the center of the courtroom, voice hard and crisp. We have proof Robin applied for a personal line of credit, $2.4 million, against the Flagstaff property. A property owned by the Brown family holdings account. The room stirred. That money, the lawyer continued, wasn't used to pay off debts. It was funneled into 3 shell companies, one owned by Robin, one by Cody, and the third. She paused, letting the silence sink in. We'll get to that. Robin's voice cracked. It wasn't like that. Cody's face turned crimson. You did this behind my back? I was trying to protect us, she whispered. Protect us? Cody barked. You mean yourself? The silence was suffocating. Every set of eyes in the courtroom watched the last threads of their bond snap. Christina's lawyer stepped forward. Your Honor, we also have evidence. Text messages between Robin and a bank representative. She forged a co-signer's name on the refinancing papers. The air crackled. Mary's lips tightened. Christina's hands didn't even shake as she stood. That co-signer, she said, her voice cutting like glass, was me. The courtroom fell silent. Even Cody's outrage melted away, replaced by surprise. This wasn't just financial deception. This was betrayal with legal consequences. Christine handed the bailiff a sealed envelope. These are the originals, she said. The signatures don't match. The judge examined the papers. They don't. Robin's lip trembled. I didn't think she'd mind. I was trying to make it right. Christina's eyes flashed. You mean you were drowning, Robin? Don't drag us down into your mess. Cody fell back in his chair. the fight seeping out of him. You forged Mary's name, he muttered. You stole from the trust. And you didn't even tell me. Robin whispered back, I was trying to save you. Christine let out a bitter laugh. You saved yourself, Robin. And you left him bankrupt. Even loyalty has a price, and Robin just cashed Cody in. The gavel of the judge fell again. We'll take a recess for 1 hour. When we return, I want the entire list of assets on record. The courtroom erupted into whispers. Cody didn't move. Robin reached for her purse, slipping something small inside, a flash drive. No one noticed except Christine. When the doors opened again, the air was thicker. The truth was weighing down. Robin's eyes darted back and forth between Cody and the judge, fear written across her face. Christine stood tall. Mary leaned forward, her face a mask. Janelle's knuckles turned white as she gripped the bench in front of her. The storm had come. And this time no one was going to walk away unharmed. The court was silent, so silent you could hear the clock tick on the far wall. Then the man in the gray suit stepped forward and identified himself. My name is Mr. Teller, he said, his voice steady, measured, even. I'm the forensic auditor on this case. No one in the room knew it yet, but his next several words were about to blow everything wide open. Teller was holding up 3 slender folders. Our inquiry uncovered 3 accounts in the name of Robin Sullivan Brown. Account 1 Legacy Home Care LLC. Account 2 Sullivan Family Services. And the third. He paused. Arm & Co. Holdings. Cody furrowed his brow. What's that? Teller kept eye contact. Brown, that third account lists your name as principal officer. But the withdrawal records, EIN registration, and contact information all mention a second administrator. All eyes turned to Robin. Her shoulders stiffened. Teller continued, that second administrator used the private alias. The name Amaro. The mood changed. There were gasps. Christina's hand flew to her mouth. Janelle's jaw dropped. Mary sat upright. Amaro, Christine breathed, voice cracking. That's Robin's mother's maiden name. The judge leaned forward. Is this alias deceased? Yes, Your Honor, Teller said. Deceased since 2003. But there were transactions under that identity up until 2 months ago. Cody shoved his chair back, his face white. You used your dead mother's name to hide money? Robin, what were you thinking? Robin's voice was a whisper. You wouldn't have understood. Cody stood, fists trembling. I trusted you. Every dollar I made, every sacrifice. And you buried it beneath a corpse. The bailiff stepped forward, ready to intervene. Christine leaned into Janelle and whispered, he's going to blow. For betrayal not only hurts, it incites. And Cody was just seconds away from blowing nuclear. The judge raised a hand. Brown, sit down. Cody sat, chest heaving, anger still burning in his eyes. Christina's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, let's not forget the flash drive Robin tried to hide at recess. We request it be submitted into evidence. The judge nodded. Granted. Miss Brown handed over. Robin's voice trembled. The private, personal files. Now Miss Brown. Her hands trembled as she reached into her purse and pulled out a small silver flash drive, the last source of control she thought she still had. Teller inserted it into a secure court laptop. The screen flickered. A folder appeared. SafeNet password encrypted. Well, override, the judge ordered. 2 minutes later. The folder opened. Dozens of videos within. Christina's lawyer double-clicked one labeled January 2022 RM transfer. The speakers rasped. Robin's voice came next. Okay, once we move the trust money, I'll run it through RM to blend it through Amaro's account. Cody will never follow the trail. Cody's head jerked up. Cody stood, fists trembling. I trusted you. Every dollar I made, every sacrifice. And you buried it beneath a corpse. The bailiff stepped forward, ready to intervene. Christine leaned into Janelle and whispered, he's going to blow. For betrayal not only hurts, it incites. And Cody was just seconds away from blowing nuclear. The judge raised a hand. Brown, sit down. Cody sat, chest heaving, anger still burning in his eyes. Christina's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, let's not forget the flash drive Robin tried to hide at recess. We request it be submitted into evidence. The judge nodded. Granted. Miss Brown handed over. Robin's voice trembled. The private, personal files. Now Miss Brown. Her hands trembled as she reached into her purse and pulled out a small silver flash drive, the last source of control she thought she still had. Teller inserted it into a secure court laptop. The screen flickered. A folder appeared. SafeNet password encrypted. "Well, override," the judge ordered. 2 minutes later. The folder opened. Dozens of videos within. Christina's lawyer double-clicked one labeled January 2022 RM transfer. The speakers rasped. Robin's voice came next. "Okay, once we move the trust money, I'll run it through RM to blend it through Amaro's account. Cody will never follow the trail." Cody's head jerked up. Robin's voice continued, cool and cold. "When it gets to the legacy account, I'll pay my card off. The LLC papers are hidden so Christine won't be able to trace it." And then silence. When your own voice is the sword used against you, there is nowhere left to hide. Robin jumped up. "It wasn't like that. I was scared, I thought." Christine slowly rose to her feet, her voice cutting keen. "You figured what? That nobody would ever find out you invested trust money in your own debts, and left the rest of us with nothing?" Robin broke down, weeping tears. "I rescued this family. I cleared up his mess." She pointed at Cody. Cody's temper flared. "You were the mess. You convinced me to put everything in your name, and you used it to steal us blind." He turned to the judge. "Your Honor, I'm filing an emergency motion to freeze all assets under Robin's control now." The judge sighed deeply. "Motion granted. All accounts in the name of Robin Sullivan Brown and the related LLCs are frozen pending investigation." Robin collapsed back in her chair. Her gravity turned sinister. Mary finally spoke. "She was using my name on a loan last year," she said quietly. "I thought the bank notice was a mistake." Christine shook her head. "It wasn't. She falsified everything. Even attached her children's social security numbers to the emergency fund." Robin cried. "It wasn't supposed to be this way." Janelle leaned forward, her voice strong and final. "But it is, and you did it." The judge slammed down the gavel. Court recessed until tomorrow morning. The court will review all recordings and LLC filings. This case now falls under federal review. The room erupted into whispers. There were flashes as people rushed to the doors. Robin sat still, mesmerized, looking at nothing. Cody stayed in the doorway and looked back at her like she was a stranger head never seen before. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said the words that silenced the room. "I should have left you when Mary did, because what happens next is even worse." The next morning the courthouse hummed like a hornet's nest. Reporters swarmed the steps, shouting headlines into microphones. Robin Brown under federal investigation. Secret LLCs linked to family trust. Cody Brown tight-lipped after contentious hearing. Tension hung in the air inside like smoke. Christine, Mary, and Janelle sat apart. 3 storms waiting to collide. Christine was calm, but her eyes burned cold. Mary's silence screamed louder than any words. Janelle was still, earthed. A womanhood long ago accepted the loss of everything except her self-respect. Cody entered the courtroom slowly, purposefully, his jaw tight and eyes sunken. Robin followed him, a shadow of her old self, hair unstyled, face pinched, eyes red from tears of sleeplessness. She couldn't even look at him. For when trust breaks, even silence resonates like betrayal. The judge entered. Court is back in session. Christina's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, before financial testimony is resumed, there is one new matter for the court to address. An email exchange between Robin Brown and her financial planner Laura Fay." Robin's head jerked up. "What email?" The lawyer continued. "When she found out her name had been used to open unauthorized credit accounts, Miss Fay provided full correspondence." The clerk gave him a thick file. The judge paged through the highlighted pages. "Miss Brown," he said slowly, "these emails make it quite clear you were warned not to use trust funds for personal expenses." Robin shook her head. "That's not true," the judge read aloud. "Robin, the IRS can audit if these are misclassified as business losses. You must not touch the trust." Christine leaned over to Janelle and whispered she ignored it. The judge turned the page. Miss Fay's final message reads, "If you proceed, I can no longer represent you in good faith." Robin's reply came next. "Hurt. Cold. I'll handle it myself. He doesn't need to know." Cody's face went white. His voice cracked. You were discussing me. Robin froze. Cody, please, you were discussing me, he shouted, standing. Each lie seems insignificant until it's read out loud in front of the person you betrayed. The judge banged the gavel. Order. Cody took a seat again, shaking, eyes fixed on the woman who had just ruined everything. And this time there was no defense to be given. The air in the courtroom had become so heavy with tension, it was nearly difficult to breathe. But Christina's lawyer wasn't through. Your Honor, she said, we have testimony from an unexpected witness. The doors swung open. A young man stepped inside. The entire room gasped. Robin's lips parted. No, he's not. But he was. Dayton, her son, walked straight to the witness stand, refusing to meet her eyes. State your name for the record, the judge said. Dayton Preston Brown, he replied, voice barely above a whisper. You understand you're under oath? He nodded. Yes. Christina's lawyer stepped forward. Dayton, you phoned my office last night. You said you had something the court ought to hear. So please tell us. Dayton swallowed. A few months ago I came across something on Mom's laptop. I didn't say anything to her, but I did make a copy. I thought it could be useful someday. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small flash drive. The bailiff took it to the clerk, who plugged it in. One single file appeared on the screen. February meeting, Robin. The courtroom fell silent. The file played. Robin's voice filled the room. If everything falls apart, I'll say Cody signed the transfers. He never checks the paperwork anyway. A man's voice followed, her accountant. That's forgery, Robin. Then her voice again, icy and confident. Then it's our little secret. A wave of gasps swept the room. Cody slammed his fist onto the table. You were going to frame me for your crimes? Robin's face turned pale. It was a joke. I wasn't. Dayton, why would you? Tears were streaming down her son's face. Because I couldn't keep lying for you, Mom. Betrayal does not necessarily come from enemies. It comes from the child who finally tells the truth. The judge looked stunned. This changes everything. Miss Brown, would you care to comment? Robin shook her head. No comment. Then the judge continued. You remain under federal investigation for fraudulent transfer and forgery. The matter will be turned over to the district attorney. Robin put her hands over her face. Cody's body moved forward, voice low and venomous. You destroyed us, all of it. Every contract, every deal, every ounce of trust one ever had in you. She cried. I was trying to protect you. He laughed bitterly, half devastated, half furious. By setting me up? You protected no one. You burned it all. Christine said nothing, only watched. Janelle leaned to Mary and whispered, it's over. She's done. But Christine didn't bat an eyelid. Not yet, she murmured. There's still the trust documents. The judge coughed. Before recess, the court will hear one final submission, filed this morning by Ms. Christine Brown. Everybody turned to stare at her. Christine rose, walking to the center of the courtroom with a sealed envelope in hand. Her voice was steady, ice-cold. This, she said, is a copy of the original Brown family trust, signed before Robin ever joined the family. Robin looked up, panic flashing across her face. What? Christine handed the document to the bailiff. You'll notice, Your Honor, there are only 3 beneficiaries listed, Mary, Janelle, and myself. The judge's brow lifted. Not Robin. Christine smiled thinly. Not even mentioned. Robin's head tossed back and forth. Impossible. Cody revised it after Christine cut her off. After you married him? Yes. But that version was never recorded. You've been insisting on rights to a trust that doesn't legally exist. When your empire's founded upon forged paper, truth incinerates quicker than ink. The judge read the pages. She's right. The amended trust was never notarized, never filed, and is of no legal effect. Cody turned slowly to Robin, voice trembling. So all the authority you exercised, all the control, all of it was based on nothing. Robin sobbed harder. I didn't know. He said it was done. Christina's voice developed an edge. Who's he? Robin froze. Who did it, Robin? Silence. Then a whisper barely audible, my cousin. Miles. Christine blinked. The same cousin who owns the Nevada Shell Company? Robin nodded. Yes. And that's when the bailiff hurried over to the judge, whispering something urgently. The judge's face darkened. He cleared his throat. Federal investigators are present. The entire courtroom went still. 2 agents in dark suits entered through the side doors, carrying folders stamped IRS, Financial Crimes Division. Robin's body tensed. Cody's hand shook on the table. "You brought the feds into this?" he snarled. The lead agent said firmly, "We have reason to believe money associated with RM & Co. Holdings was run through a Nevada account that's connected to federal tax fraud." The judge nodded gravely. "This court will cooperate fully." Robin's lawyer leaned over, speaking low and urgently, but she didn't hear him. Her eyes locked on Cody, pleading, "Please don't let them take me." But Cody didn't move. He looked at her with nothing left. No anger, no pity, just emptiness. Once love turns to survival, there is no longer mercy. "Miss Brown," said the agent, "please stand." She hesitated, whispering again, "Cody, please." His answer was ice. "You lost me long before you lost the money." The click of the handcuffs on her wrists echoed through the courtroom. Gasp. Whispers. Cameras clicked. Christine covered her mouth. Janelle's eyes sparkled. Mary turned away. And Cody, he didn't look away. He watched every second of it. The courthouse was different that day. Not louder, just thicker. The kind of stillness that can only exist after a storm has torn everything apart. Robin had been arrested the night before, and there was a vacant chair at the defense table. Cody sat alone, red-eyed, hair disheveled. A shadow of the manhood stood in front of cameras proclaiming his family unstoppable. Now he looked stopped. Christine, Janelle, and Mary entered together. They didn't speak. Their unity was no longer built upon love. It was built upon survival. When the last mask falls away, you then see who's been bleeding and who's been holding the knife. The judge climbed onto the bench. "Before we start," he said, "Mr. Brown has requested to make a personal statement into the record." Cody slowly stood, shaking hands, opening a page of paper. His voice, when he started speaking, was deeper than anyone expected. "Your Honor," he began, "I spent years building a legacy I thought I believed in. I believed in unity. I believed in love. But I was blind. And in my blindness, I allowed control to fall into the hands of someone who saw my trust as weakness." Christina's eyes narrowed, impenetrable. "I don't stand here as a husband," Cody continued. "I stand here as a man whose name was signed, whose accounts were depleted, whose kids' futures were gambled away without their consent." His hand trembled. His voice cracked. "I didn't lose money alone. I lost trust. And I don't believe I can ever get that back." He sat down, no screaming, no deflection. Just a man finally finding himself standing on ashes. Even dictators fall when there's nothing left to protect. The judge nodded somberly. "Thank you, Mr. Brown. Let's proceed to the federal findings." The IRS agent stepped forward, placing 2 sealed folders on the judge's desk. And when he opened them, everyone in the courtroom leaned forward, because the story wasn't over. Not yet. The air in the courtroom was denser than it had ever been. Every breath was a borrowed one, every heartbeat louder than necessary. The federal agent stepped forward, his voice level but sharp enough to cut through the tension. "Within the last 24 hours, he began, our office monitored nearly $780,000, moved from the Brown Family Trust to overseas accounts in Belize. The accounts were opened under an entity called Family Tree Holdings International." The name fell like thunder. Christina's eyebrows narrowed. "Family Tree?" she called out. "That was Cody's old real estate company in Utah." The agent nodded slowly. "The same name, but this one was re-registered in Nevada under a new managing agent. A Miss Aurora Brown." There was a shocked silence. Mary's jaw dropped. The judge leaned forward. "Is Aurora Brown a minor?" Cody shook his head, disbelief in his eyes. "She's Robin's daughter. She's 19. She wouldn't even have access to," the agent interrupted. "We believe Robin used her daughter's name to set up the holding company. It's a pattern of previous aliases used with her accounts." Christine rose to her feet. "Your Honor, this isn't forgery or fraud by itself. This is identity theft, and a criminal enterprise built on family names and forged signatures." The judge's expression darkened. "Continue the investigation. Miss Brown will remain in federal custody." But before he could go on, the door burst open. There were gasps in the room. Aurora appeared. Her hands trembled, her eyes wide with fear. She wasn't supposed to be there. "I need to say something," she said, voice cracking. "On the record." The judge hesitated, then nodded. "You may approach." Aurora stepped forward, her voice shaking but clear. "I didn't know Mom had used my name. I didn't find out until a letter from an offshore bank arrived at our house. I asked her and she said, 'Don't worry.' She said it was for my protection in the future." Cody fought with a battered face. Aurora confronted him. "I didn't want this, Dad. I didn't know. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. It kills the one you trusted most." Tears streamed down her face. Christine whispered under her breath, "That poor girl." The judge sighed deeply. "Thank you for your statement, Miss Brown. You are not under investigation at this time." Aurora sat quietly in the back row, shaking. Cody could not even look at her. Christine rose again. Her voice was steady but burdened. "Your Honor, there's one more piece of evidence we need to present. A video discovered on an old iPad in Flagstaff. We believe Robin recorded it last fall. It was never meant to be seen." The bailiff brought the iPad to the judge. The video began to play on the courtroom screen. Robin appeared on screen, sitting in a dark kitchen, staring directly at the camera. Her voice was frail but deliberate. "If you're seeing this," she whispered, "then everything is falling apart. I never intended for it to go this far. But I had to save Cody from himself. The trust, the accounts, even the shell companies, he told me to clean it up. He said, 'Do whatever you have to do.' So I did. And if the wives hate me for it, so be it. But Cody can't stand to lose it all. He's too proud." Hellbreak. The video ended, and that's what it did. Cody broke. He stood, then his knees gave way. No drama. No words. Just collapsing. Like a man whose body could no longer bear the weight of guilt and love intertwined. Christine screamed. Mary rushed forward. Even Janelle stood up from her seat. The courtroom erupted into chaos. Paramedics came running. Cody was stretched out semi-conscious, whispering as they loaded him onto the gurney, "She was supposed to save me." He then went quiet. Sometimes the person who promises to save you is the same person you needed saving from in the first place. Court recessed in chaos. Out in the hallway, Christine stood with her hands over her head. "Hell never be the same," she whispered. Mary had nothing to say. She just stared out at the storm clouds brewing over the courthouse. And Janelle, she checked her phone, her eyes going wide. As Cody fell, they had no idea that a new court notice had been delivered. A subpoena for TLC's whole unaired footage library. That's when it hit them. The real proof hadn't been in the papers. It was in the tapes. Rain lashed at the courthouse windows as Session 5 began. The tone had changed completely. Not angry. Not fierce. Just weary. The kind of exhaustion that comes when too much truth has been revealed. Cody's seat was vacant. His name still on the docket, his body still in a hospital bed. Robin remained in custody. Her lawyers requested a continuance. The judge refused. "Truth," he said simply, "cannot wait. Not this time. Not ledgers and signatures. Accountability. And the truth no one thought would ever be brought into the light of day." The courtroom lights dimmed as a projection screen came down from the ceiling. The bailiff entered carrying a large hard drive, which he handed over to the technician. Christina's face was a mask, impassive. Janelle crossed her arms. Mary gripped the hem of her coat sleeve, braced herself. The judge addressed the room. "The court has been given subpoenaed footage from the TLC production vaults. This was never aired, but by agreement, all parties consented to being recorded on and off the set. What we will see was recorded 2 years ago, just days after the Brown Family Trust was signed." The first segment began. Cody was pacing in the family kitchen. His voice was low, crisp. "Put the paperwork in your name," he told Robin. "They don't have to know. File it through Miles. Christine won't look into it, she's got Trilly's surgery to stress about." Robin hesitated. "Are you sure we shouldn't just tell them?" Cody's answer was instant. "Just trust me. They'll never get it. This is for the family. For our future." And then the line that made everyone's stomach drop. "Every empire built in secret eventually crumbles in public." Mary gasped softly. On screen, Robin nodded. I'll have Miles set up the LLC. And what about the credit cards? Cody replied coldly. Put them under Mary's name. She doesn't even check statements anymore. We'll clean it before tax season. Christine rose, her voice steady. Your Honor, this demonstrates it wasn't only Robin. Cody was behind it all along. Each fake report. Each concealed transfer. It started with him. There was no comment from the judge. He simply observed. A second recording was played, Robin and Miles, speaking in hushed tones in a darkened living room. We're cleaning it dirty, Miles said under his breath. But make Cody believe it was all your idea. If the IRS comes knocking, we can't have his name on too much. Robin nodded. I'll handle him. Janelle's voice sliced through the silence. They used him, then blamed him. And now she didn't get to finish. Because everyone in that courtroom already knew how the story was going to end. And still, none of them were ready for what came next. The courtroom was tense enough it was practically suffocating. It was as if the walls themselves were waiting with bated breath. Christine leaned forward, her voice sharp but level. They weren't protecting him, she said. They were protecting themselves. Period. The judge was white. Do you have more? Christina's attorney nodded grimly. Yes, Your Honor. One final clip. The screen flickered, and there was Christine once more. Except that this time she wasn't in the stand. She was in her bedroom, secretly recorded in a moment off camera. Her voice ragged and honest. I know something's wrong, she whispered. The trust papers disappeared from my drawer. Mary swears she never signed that credit application, but there's a copy with her name on it. I asked Robin, she lied. I asked Cody, he changed the subject. She exhaled shakily. Something's happening behind the scenes, and if they're using the trust without telling us, that's betrayal. The video ended. The silence was thick. You don't necessarily require a court to witness betrayal. Sometimes you can feel it like a bruise you didn't know you had. Christina's eyes gleamed, but she did not weep. Not yet. The judge massaged his temples as though fatigued. This court has now witnessed overwhelming evidence of conspiracy, deception, and abuse of family funds by multiple parties. And then the door opened. In came Cody. He looked like a ghost, pale, hunched, eyes hollow. The room went dead silent. Mr. Brown, the judge said carefully, you're late. Cody shook his head. Not late, he murmured. Just changed. He took his seat without a word, refusing to look at Christine or Mary or Janelle. But when the final clip began, he didn't look away. Robin's face filled the screen. No makeup, no smile. Just a woman at the end of herself. If you're watching this, she whispered, then everything's already burned down. Cody always needed someone to blame. That's why I did what I did. He made me think it was love, but really it was control. I thought if I fixed the money, he might love me back. But now I know I was just another transaction. Her voice broke. Sometimes the final betrayal isn't of others. It's the one you do to yourself. When the video ended, Cody closed his eyes. That video annihilated the last wall he had left. He stood up, voice barely above a whisper. Your Honor, he said, I'm done fighting. The entire courtroom held its breath. I want to dissolve everything. All remaining assets, all accounts, everything under Brown Holdings. I'll give up my stake in Coyote Pass, in Flagstaff, in every property tied to this name. Each wife will be repaid from what's left. And when that's done, he paused, swallowing hard. I'm walking away from all of it. Christine stared at him. Is this real? Janelle whispered. He's giving it all up. Mary looked at the judge. Can we hold him to that? The judge nodded solemnly. If Mr. Brown presents those terms, liquidation will begin immediately. But before the gavel could fall, Robin's lawyer rose to his feet. Your Honor, he said hesitantly, Miss Brown has filed a counter motion. She's suing Mr. Brown for emotional damages on the grounds that he coerced her into those financial decisions. The room erupted in gasps. Christine let out a hollow laugh. She's suing him? Cody didn't flinch. He just stared straight ahead. I don't care anymore, he said quietly. Let her sue me. I've already lost everything that matters. When a man has nothing left to lose, the courtroom stops being a battlefield. It becomes a funeral. Christine turned to the others. He's really letting it burn. Janelle's voice was a whisper. He's not letting it burn. He's lighting the match. Then, from the back of the courtroom, another voice was heard. Confident, calm. Your Honor, she said, stepping forward, there's something else the court needs to see. A woman nobody expected stepped up to the bench. It was Susan Hargrove, the longtime executive producer of TLC. In her hand, a sealed envelope. This, she said, is unaired footage from Robin Brown's personal confessionals. She wanted it deleted. But under the terms of our contract, it belongs to the network. And now she looks squarely at Cody, then Christine. It belongs to the court. The judge's jaw tightened. Proceed. The technician played the file. The lights dimmed. There was a silence like held breath. Robin's face reappeared, raw, tear-streaked and alone. Her voice trembled. Cody doesn't know I did it, she whispered. He thinks I was just doing accounts, but I moved more money than he ever realized. I thought if I controlled the money, I could control the fear. But he was slipping away from me, from the kids. I couldn't compete with Christine or Janelle. I thought I was saving him. But I was the one who made him shut down. She took a deep breath. So I had Miles hide the money. I signed Mary's name. I took Aurora's identity. I did everything, and told myself it was love. She fought back tears. But now I don't know what it was. The screen faded to black. Christina's jaw hardened. Mary turned away. Janelle whispered she confessed. To everything. Some confessions don't save you. They just write your ending. Robin's lawyer looked defeated. Your Honor, we were unaware of this video. We have no further comment. The judge sighed heavily. With this admission on the record and all prior evidence considered, this court is ready to rule. Cody stood up, his body trembling but his voice steady. Please, before you do, I have to say one more thing. The judge nodded. Permission granted. Cody walked to the center of the courtroom. No script. No notes. Just truth. I spent half my life trying to control a family that was never going to be controlled, he spoke quietly. 4 wives. 5 houses. 16 kids. And 1 man trying to keep together a universe built on jealousy and fear. He gazed at Christine. When you left, I told myself you left me behind. But I left myself behind. He gazed at Janelle. You stopped fighting years before I knew it. And I blamed you for the silence. He gazed at Mary. You were done a long time before you left. I just didn't know. Then he glanced at the empty chair where Robin should have been sitting. And you took everything. But maybe I never had anything to begin with. He turned to the judge again, shoulders slumping. I won't fight anymore. Whatever you decide, I'll accept it. The courtroom was quiet. The judge opened the file, reading slowly. This court finds Robin Sullivan Brown guilty of fraud, identity abuse, and theft of trust funds. All properties in her name will be sold to satisfy family debts. Christine exhaled. Mary gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Janelle nodded softly. ###, the judge continued. Mary Brown and Janelle Brown will be repaid from the sale of the Flagstaff property and remaining Brown holdings. As for Cody Brown, he stopped. The air quieted. While evidence shows him unaware of the scope of Robin Brown's enterprises, this court finds him negligent in his role as head of the household. As a result, he shall retain no controlling interest in any of the Brown family holdings remaining to them. Cody didn't move. Didn't blink. Because sometimes justice doesn't come in handcuffs. It comes in repercussions you can never escape. And with that, the Brown Empire fell. Not with shouting. Not with scandal. But with silence. The kind that follows only when truth has finally spoken. It's slick, emotionally sophisticated, and filled with cliffhanger-like hooks that make viewers not click off. The editing finishes like a documentary conclusion, but finishes with that perfect YouTube flourish inviting interaction. The courtroom was still recovering from the verdict when the truth of what had happened began to sink in. Cody Brown had lost everything. Assets, power, even the surname that had formerly defined him. Christine Rose and the other wives were motionless as the judge spoke his final words. The original trust, having only the names of Christine, Mary, and Janelle Brown, is hereby reinstated. Robin Brown was never legally part of it. And with that it was done. The audience began to file out in stunned silence. Then the stampede, journalists bursting through the doors, cameras flashing like lightning, headlines already taking form. Robin Brown found guilty. Brown Empire collapses. Cody Brown loses everything in emotional ruling. Christine stood atop the steps of the courthouse, the wind whipping through her hair. Mary stood alongside her, eyes sunken but proud. We lost everything to get here, Mary whispered. Christine looked out at the parking lot where Cody stood alone, no cameras, no wives, no children. No, she whispered. We didn't lose everything. We lost him. Janelle stepped forward. Then what do we do now? Christine turned to her, her voice quiet but certain. Now we tell our story. Not his. It should have been the end. The court had heard enough. Robin revealed, Cody destroyed, Christine cleared. But when the seventh morning broke, a strange calm pervaded the air. Something whispered, it's not over yet. And it wasn't. Because Christine had one last card to play. She appeared early that morning alone, wearing the same bracelet she'd worn the day she'd left Cody, the day the whole illusion had begun to dissolve. But now her eyes burned with a different kind of fire. This wasn't justice now. This was vengeance. Robin was brought into court next, handcuffed, disheveled, her hair tousled, her eyes swollen from crying. There were no cameras to track her now. The world she'd built on confessionals and posed smiles had vanished. Cody was already seated, his shoulders hunched, face wan. He wouldn't look at her. Wouldn't look at anyone. The judge banged the session to order. Christine rose. Your Honor, she said. With your permission, I'd like to file one final motion. On behalf of myself, Mary Brown and Janelle Brown. The judge nodded. Proceed. Christine placed a thick folder on the table, her voice unwavering. This is a class action suit against both Cody and Robin Brown, on grounds of long-term emotional distress, breach of contract, coercion, and financial manipulation under the guise of spiritual marriage. The room gasped. Even the bailiff froze. Cody blinked, stunned. You're suing me again? Christine didn't back down. You bullied us into signing away financial independence under the guise of spiritual harmony. You persuaded us that we didn't need the protection of the law, while you were secretly providing Robin with a legal marriage. You created a chain of command, and then used that authority to keep us helpless for more than 10 years. Her voice cut like a knife. Spiritual marriage isn't marriage when one wife receives legal rights, and the rest receive legal debt. The judge perused the documents, page after page of evidence, meticulously catalogued. Christina's lawyer went on, we are seeking retroactive compensation for 10 years of unpaid equity in Brown family assets, and damages for emotional trauma, citing the footage now entered into public record. The judge raised a hand. Sit down, counsel. This argument will be heard. Cody's restraint finally snapped. This is a revenge tour, Christine. Not justice. Christine could say. Mary stood up. Her voice was flat, even, but cold enough to freeze the air. No, Cody. This is the reckoning you've been running from. You built your castles out of lies, and now you're choking on the dust. Christine moved forward. You don't get to walk away clean this time. Not after everything you allowed, everything you encouraged. Cody's voice trembled. I never intended to hurt anyone. Janelle looked him straight in the eye. Then why did we all get hurt? The judge cleared his throat. This court will review the motion in its entirety. But based on what I've heard so far, this case might be going to civil trial. Cody slumped in his chair, defeated. You're going to sue me till I have nothing. Christine met his gaze. You already have nothing. But that won't stop me from making sure Robin loses everything she still thinks she owns. The judge continued. All remaining accounts under Cody and Robin Brown's names will be frozen pending civil review, including royalties from TLC and affiliated platforms. Cody's eyes widened. You're freezing the show money? Christine didn't blink. That money came from our pain, not your face. And then another shockwave hit. Susan Hargrove, the longtime TLC producer, rose once more. Your Honor, the network has reviewed unreleased footage from seasons 17 through 20. We've discovered evidence of forged signatures and off-camera planning between Robin Brown and third parties. TLC will be releasing a special episode, The Unseen Tapes, in 3 weeks. There were gasps in the courtroom. Robin's lips quivered. Please, she whispered. Don't air that. It will destroy my children. Christine looked directly forward. You should have thought about that before you used their names to cover your deceit. The room was filled with Robin's wails, but nobody went to comfort her. Not even Cody. Most especially not Cody. For at that time, the clerk of the court handed him an envelope. He read it, and his hands began to shake. Christine noticed. "What is it?" she said. He did not reply. She said it again louder. "What is it, Cody?" Finally he looked up, his voice devoid of tone. "It's from the Department of Justice. There's a federal investigation, tax evasion." Christine's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Good," she said quietly. "Because we're not done yet." The room went quiet. Not peaceful. Quiet like the moment before lightning hits. When the judge returned, his tone was somber. "This case," he began, "has revealed an extraordinary level of betrayal, deception, and emotional abuse, all concealed beneath the banner of family unity. Therefore this court rules as follows." Every word felt like a hammer. The Brown Family Trust, as it existed before Robin Brown's legal marriage, is hereby reinstated. Robin Brown's interest is void. All LLCs in her name will be dissolved, with assets split between Christine, Mary, and Janelle Brown. Christine exhaled slowly. The judge continued. "Cody Brown will not have any financial voice in any of the family assets from this day forward. Profits from previous TLC shows will be redirected to the victims as restitution." There were gasps in the courtroom. Even Cody closed his eyes, his jaw trembling. Robin fell apart. "You're taking everything from me." Christine stood up, unflappable and calm. "No, Robin. You took everything from us. We're just taking it back." The judge's tone turned severe. "Furthermore, this case will be turned over to federal authorities to prosecute Robin Sullivan Brown for tax evasion, identity theft, and perjury. She could spend up to 12 years in prison." The gavel dropped. Robin collapsed, crying hysterically. Her lawyer tried to console her, but she pushed him away. "Cody," she sobbed, "please do something." Cody slowly rose to his feet, his voice barren and conclusive. "I have nothing more to offer." And he left. By himself. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, after days of silence, Mary rose to her feet. Her voice was firm, clear. "I have something to add to the record." Christine turned, startled. "What is it?" Mary picked up a small envelope. "This was found in a storage locker in Lehigh. It's a letter from Robin to Cody, 2 years before she met the rest of us." Robin's head snapped up. "No." Mary kept reading. "It outlines a plan to relocate the family to Flagstaff, cut the other wives off, and consolidate all the income under one legal marriage. It's signed by Robin's mother." The room exploded. Gasps. Shouts. Reporters reaching for their phones. "The betrayal wasn't spontaneous," Mary said coldly. "It was generational." Robin screamed, her voice shattering. "You can't do this. That letter was never meant to be found." But it was. And now it was evidence. Christine whispered to Janelle, "She planned this from the beginning." Janelle nodded. "This wasn't a meltdown, it was a coup." The judge read the letter quickly, then looked up. "This letter proves premeditated intent. I'm requesting a criminal investigation for conspiracy to defraud." The courtroom erupted again, reporters shouting, phones ringing, the world outside catching itself up to speed on the chaos inside. As Robin was dragged off, screaming that she'd been framed, Christine, Mary, and Janelle walked out together side by side. No tears. No smiles. Just quiet resolve. And Cody? He stood on the other side of the plaza, watching them leave, alone, unseen, unneeded. Because for the first time in his life no one was waiting for him. Because this wasn't just a trial. It was the funeral of a legacy built on lies. And now the whole world was watching its final burial. So tell me, do you think Robin had planned this from the beginning? Or was she Cody's last and best mistake? Robin's lawyer jumped to his feet. "This is retaliation.